Hi, welcome to MidasTradingSystems.com. We've developed a set of indicators based on Paul Levine's work on Midas Technical Analysis and the underlying indicators. It reveals powerful support and resistance levels, as well as a method to gauge the relative strength of a given trend. The Midas indicator helps pinpoint your entries for optimal risk and reward trades, as well as helping give guidance on profit objectives. In the image here in the upper left, you can see how the Midas curve, primary curve, is the thick middle line right in here from this pivot. The curve itself is launched from important pivots in the market, and you can actually gauge how important a pivot is by launching a curve and then seeing how it reacts to the Midas curve in this area. So you can see this pullback was nicely contained right in this area. You're going to gauge your likely initial risk by the lower channel line, placing a stop. If you choose to enter a long position in here, you would place a stop below the low of that channel line. The upper channel line is going to give you some guidance in relation to where you might place an initial target, and typically we're looking to enter the trade on the pullback in here and then monitoring how the market is reacting to that upper channel line area. So you can see in here we break through it, we pull back, we support in this area, we break above here, we have a small pullback, and so we have another launch in this area, and it provides support, and then the market's strong enough that it doesn't actually pull back in, which is another indication of sort of a continuation of that short-term trend. And then you can see we find a little bit of support here. It rolls over. We find support at the lower channel line, support again, and support. And in terms of targets in this scenario, you can see again here we find resistance at this upper channel line. And then again it breaks just above it, and we pull back and we're finding support. Now you can see that this is all, we're finding support here slightly higher than where you would typically be looking for a pullback, just based on levels on a horizontally derived level from a previous test of a price point. Typically if you're looking for a pullback and you're looking at just a price level, we would have wanted to see this pullback to this high of this pivot. And in here you can see we have additional information based on the Midas curve. Here's another recent example in Nike on a daily chart. You can see how nicely, when it was launched from this important pivot low, how nicely it captured this support in this range and gave a really nice opportunity for a move up in here, and also giving you an indication of where you want to really be paying attention, not only from sort of this upper channel line area, but from a curve launched from this recent pivot high, and then calibrated the upper channel line to this test up. So it was launched from here, calibrated to this test up, and you can see it's nicely containing the move up in here. Perfect place to exit part of your position if you're anticipating a move higher, and if you think this is just a pullback, obviously you can exit and then possibly reverse your trade at this point. Next target would be down somewhere between the primary curve and the lower channel line. Hopefully if you're short, then you get a break lower, and then you can start using the curves to track the trend from that point forward. In addition, this curve was set and is being monitored, but an additional analysis can be made quickly with a Midas trend curve, which allows you to much more easily quickly analyze trends inside of other trends. And you can see from this pivot low here, curve nicely contained and provided support on these pullbacks, and then when it broke in here, obviously next level of support was found down in this area. We have a scanning feature that will actually allow you to be alerted. So on daily time frames, if you're following a large number of stocks, you can actually be alerted when these levels are being tested, which can be extremely handy for a large body of stocks if you don't want to have to wade through 100 or 200 stocks on a daily basis. This is an example in Nike, and recently there was a nice test of support in Whole Foods Market. This Whole Foods Market on a daily chart, and you can see this is back in Late August, we had a test of this important support curve, and just recently we've been testing into the support area. And on this test low right in here, I actually sent out an email to a number of people on my list just so that they were keeping an eye on this as a potential support zone. Obviously took a few days, but recently we went ahead and broke higher out of this range, and it's worth noting that we did break this descending curve that was launched from this pivot high. It was actually launched from the bar prior to this gap down, and you can calibrate the curve, so even if it didn't match perfectly in here, we would have calibrated the curve to this pivot high right in here, and you can see that it provided resistance for 2 days in here, and we're breaking higher, so there's a good possibility that this curve will now actually start providing support in here. And it's worth noting that dropping down, if you know, Whole Foods Market is a stock that you find interesting, as you're testing into this support zone using a 10-minute chart, 30-minute or 10-minute, depends on the time frame that you're comfortable with, but looking for buying opportunities as you're testing into this zone obviously can set you up with some nice intraday profits, as well as being able to sort of scale in safely with reasonable risk into sort of these longer term moves. See how potential resistance zone, how the market reacts as we move into that. But you can see, if you play your cards right and you limit your losses, I mean, if in here, for instance, if you had been buying, would have had to weather this, but you knew in advance that this was an important sort of support zone. So you either wanted to exit your long positions in here as you broke, you know, this pivot low, and then as you were testing into here, start looking intraday at buying opportunities and just limit your risk on each of your attempts. And if you're being careful and your risk to reward on your setups makes sense, then you can, you know, you have an opportunity to capture really extended moves, and that's obviously what we're after here. So register for your free Midas Indicator. I have the free basic version. It will give you you can play with it, and it'll give you a great idea of how powerful the Midas Indicator is, and it will also allow you to play with your charts so you can see how Midas Technical Analysis and its variations can really powerfully enhance your current trading strategies. Also, you're going to gain access to our enhanced indicators, which are going to provide rapid analysis in fast-moving markets. So the original indicator was really slow, and you had to make all kinds of adjustments to it in terms of the time that it was launched. And so we went ahead and enhanced that. A free indicator that we have on our site, it allows you to sort of more quickly add in the parameters for the launch. And we have the enhanced indicators, which really pick it up. So it's just you just grab and quickly adjust the launch points for the curves. We'll give you access to our multi-time frame analysis, which will allow you to apply a longer time frame curve onto a shorter time frame chart. And if you're involved in day trading, this is an extremely powerful tool because, as many of you know, you can get pulled more and more into shorter time frames and lose track of the longer term targets and support and resistance zones. And so the multi-time frame tool will allow you to keep all of that in front of you while you're monitoring the shorter time frame. We've also developed the custom auto scanning feature using the market analyzer in NinjaTrader, and that will allow you to launch custom curves on a daily, actually on any time frame you like. So even on a intraday level, if you're using a 30-minute or a 1400 tick chart, you can use it in there as well. I tend to use it on a daily and weekly time frame, and then drop down to lower time frames, look at, you know, optimal trade entry using that longer time frame support, the indicator. So register below for your free indicator. I've included all the setup instructions and an overview of the indicator, as well as the trading platform. And from there we will move into some tutorials on how to use the indicator for those of you who are not familiar with it. For those of you who are familiar with it, we will be talking about some advanced strategies. Here's a copy of the email I sent out on the test in Whole Foods Market in here. I might also just point out, you can see this lower channel line. Calibrated the curve to this pivot high, and then launched the curve from this low of this test down right in here, which obviously held support right in here, and ultimately provided support near the primary curve from this prior Midas curve launch. And again, you can see the importance of this curve. You definitely want to be paying attention over in here when you had a nice extended pullback, find support in this area. And so we kind of had a confluence of curves coming together in here, so I sent out an email on this day. And again, we've obviously moved higher nicely from that point. Okay, to the left of the video, please register. You will gain access to our forum, to your free indicator, setup instructions for NinjaTrader, and how to use this basic indicator. You will also then, of course, receive updates on enhanced versions of the indicator, the scanner, and the multi-time frame analysis. We're also working on an auto-executing trade alert system that I think you'll find quite interesting as well. We have a little bit more work to do on that, so you'll want to stay apprised of the developments on that front as well. I'll look forward to seeing you inside the forum.